The Oregon Ducks welcome in a third coach in 3 years as Mario Cristobal will try and resurrect the program in 2018. But before that takes place, the Ducks take on Boise State this Saturday in the Las Vegas Bowl. We'll preview the game and find out which pro prospects to keep an eye on for the 2018 NFL Draft as we go one-on-one with Rob Mosley, editor for GoDucks.com, covering Oregon Ducks football on the OFN meeting room with Greg DePalma. All right, it's December 14, 2017. I'm Greg DePalma. Thanks for tuning into the OFN meeting room as we talk Oregon Ducks football with Rob Mosley. Rob, thanks for taking the time to talk to us tonight.
Absolutely. How you doing?
Doing good. So, how are you doing? You're in Vegas right now. I know you're a Penguin fan, so you got a big hockey game tonight.
Absolutely. Penguins Golden Knights. I went and saw the Golden Knights play. Who the heck did they play? Carolina on Tuesday. That T-Mobile where they play is a great venue for hockey, so I'm looking forward to checking it out again.
All right. So perfect timing, though, right? To get your two-time Stanley Cup champions in the same city. That's pretty awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, Fortune smiled a little bit.
That's right. And Fortune hasn't necessarily been smiling for the Ducks the last couple of years, considering where the program was just a few years ago, really on top of the world. Of course, Chip Kelly left the program in great shape, and they went to the national championship game, and Marcus Mariota. And since then, it's kind of been a slow decline. I mean, look, they're still going to bowl games, but still, it hasn't really been anywhere near the level that they were a few years ago.
No doubt about it. I think Marcus Mariota and what he did that 2014 season when he won the Heisman and the team played for the national championship, really the pinnacle for this program and capped a long run of success that it's been building. Most considerably under Chip Kelly, but really for 15, 20 years before that. And so it was a cold splash of water in the face of the program and the fan base to see the slide over the next couple of years. And it's just, I think there was a sense for a while that kind of Oregon had figured some things out and was ahead of the curve in certain ways under Chip Kelly. And then college football caught up, and
yep.
People started doing a lot of the same things with tempo and the spread option and things like that. And you just didn't see that next step in terms of staying ahead of the game. So there was really a feeling that like a course correction was needed, and so then that precipitated Willie Taggart coming in prior to this season.
Has there been a really big drop-off as far as recruiting is concerned? And, of course, I know Mario Cristobal well. I was in South Florida when he was coaching FIU. I was shocked when he was let go, by the way, by FIU. I couldn't figure that out at all.
Yeah.
I'm not sure not anybody could figure that out. And then, of course, Taggart, who's an excellent recruiter. So, I mean, but has the recruiting been a drop-off, or is it just like you said, it's been more of maybe just trying to find a new identity and not trying to, be like every other program, and what's the big difference as far as recruiting?
Yeah, I think that the recruiting. This was never a team that recruited at an elite level.
Sure.
Every once in a while, you'd sneak into the high teens. I think there was one year that one service had Oregon with a top 10 class. But this is a team that more has made its reputation on top 20, top 25 type recruiting class. And then, still kind of having an underdog mentality that the program had for a lot of years before it really built up. When you get the infusion of the Nike support, it's hard to feel like underdogs anymore. And so that, with Chip Kelly, that changed. It wasn't that program anymore. The identity was a team that was ahead of the curve and was doing things better than anybody else was, and kind of got that swagger. So what they've tried to do, I think, what Taggart's main goal was, it was. Unfortunately, he was only here 1 year, but,
yep.
He provided a course correction in terms of getting back to some basics of the game in terms of just toughness and physical power and a presence at the line of scrimmage. So it really is a different kind of identity now moving forward. And I think Mario Cristobal is going to have different kinds of messages, but, obviously with his background is going to be a guy who, hey, dominate the line of scrimmage, push the other guy back, defensively set the tone up front. And so, in terms of the identity of playing style, identity of the team, still obviously for now, a spread it out team with some option elements and run a little bit of tempo. But, as the program moves forward, I think it's going to be a little bit more physical, hard-nosed, old-style football.
Okay, and that's interesting because if you look at, the conference that you cover, it seems that that's the way that things are starting to change a little bit in the Pac-12. You got Justin Wilcox moving over to Cal. Even Washington State has been playing better defense, and that's been part of the. Grinch has done a really great job as the coordinator there. So of course Stanford plays defense, Washington plays defense. So that's good to see, right?
Yeah, no, I think so. I mean, this was, even at its best, this wasn't a program that was just trying to outscore you. I mean, some of the defenses under Chip Kelly, with the influence of Jerry Azzinaro, who he brought with him as his defensive coordinator at UCLA, when Jerry Azzinaro joined the staff here, I mean, this was a top 15 defense in the country too, along with but the offense was just getting all the headlines.
Yeah.
So, and it was really the slip on defense. The last 2 or 3 years, it really kind of precipitated a lot of the issues. I mean, this was still a team that was putting up a lot of points, but defensively, it just wasn't happening. So Jim Leavitt, hiring him from Colorado, paying him, signing him to a big contract, unlike any that's really been seen in the conference before for a coordinator, getting over $1 million. He's had a huge influence. And again, kind of simplify the game to physical football, basic principles, tackle, handle yourself at the line of scrimmage, kind of in line again with the tone Taggart set initially over the last year, and then that Cristobal is now looking to build on.
All right, now let's talk about the game and, of course, the prospects to keep an eye on for the fans listening. They're going to be watching the game. And we started right at the top at Royce Freeman, that unfortunately the fans are not going to get an opportunity to see him. So, fans that are in the East Coast like me, we're not big fans of the Pac-12 network.
Right.
but we do. I was happy to see some of these Pac-12 games late in the season on national TV. That was nice. But still, sometimes you don't get an opportunity to see Oregon as much as you'd like.
Sure.
So here's the opportunity to see him. Unfortunately, no Royce Freeman. He's the all-time leading rusher at Oregon. We've seen a lot of really good running backs come out of Oregon over the last decade. And so tell me, he's not ranked. I know that Dan Shonka has him ranked as the number one senior running back. So that obviously means something, but he's not looked at as like a top 10 or top 15 running back. Why is that? I mean, do you think he's an under the radar solid prospect that is going to surprise people? Do you think he has what it takes to be a really good player at the next level?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that depends on how you define a really good player. I think if I would compare him to anybody that's come out of Oregon in the last 10 or 15 years, it would probably be LeGarrette Blount.
Okay.
Who has had the longest career. LeGarrette Blount is not gonna run, not the breakaway speed. He's not gonna run away from you very often. And Royce Freeman doesn't have a lot of highlights like that to his name in college, but he's really durable. He keeps on going. He runs with a physical style. It's not so physical that you worry about the pounding he takes, because he does. It's not like he's looking for contact. I don't think Blount, you see with Blount the way he tries to hurdle people, or did a little earlier in his career. I mean, LeGarrette was a big physical back, but who was looking to run around you just as much, and so it didn't take too much of a pounding. But was big and physical enough to take some pounding too and keep running it. And I think Freeman's that kind of guy. He doesn't have the craziest juke, he doesn't have the craziest top speed, but if you add it all up, his ability to pass protect, his ability to catch the ball, his strength, and his vision and quickness between the tackles. There's not one thing that you're like, oh, that's elite, but he's got a whole bunch of the traits that you really want to look for in a back.
Is he faster than people think, or is that going to be a problem for him when he runs at the combine?
I don't know what his is he going to be a 4.3, 4.4 guy? I don't think that. I don't know what kind of a time he's going to put up.
Uh-huh.
I don't think he's going to ever be anybody who blows you away with his speed. Again, it's more just the total package that he puts together. I think sets him apart from most of the other backs that you see here. Oregon backs, I think. Well, Michael James, Anthony Thomas, started to fit a profile of smaller, quicker guys that fit the spread offense. But this is a different kind of back. I mean, he is. If you saw him walking down the street, you might think he's a linebacker.
All right, but we're talking like a second round, though, right? Second, high third. I mean, Donta Foreman was a third-round draft pick, and Freeman, I gotta believe, has got a little bit better of a makeup than Foreman. Foreman, a big guy too, but he hasn't really had the production over 4 years that Freeman's had. So, and I'm just comparing kind of big guys. So,
Sure.
so Freeman probably like a second round guy, you think?
Listen, that's not my expertise at all. So I don't. I mean, I wouldn't want to try to make a
You don't
prediction
have
like
to
that
quote.
because
I'm not asking you to quote me. I
yeah,
mean to quote you.
I'm a college guy. But yeah, if he was a second round pick, that wouldn't shock me at all. I
Okay.
think I think from an Oregon perspective, if he was a first round guy, that would be a pleasant surprise.
All right, sure. All right, so talk about some of the other prospects that we know of. Of course, Terrell Crosby, a
Right.
Nevada kid, and of course the game's in Nevada, so I'm sure he's looking forward to the game, and I'm sure he's enjoyed the week. So he's the number 4 rated senior offensive tackle prospect for our lads. What kind of a career has he had?
Yeah, he's a guy who got here, and I mean the athleticism was just off the charts. And the question was, how physical a guy could he be, both from like just a strength point of view and then a mentality point of view. And he really learned how to play with that nastiness over the last couple years. I'm not sure what his strength levels are yet. I'm not sure what he's going to lift, that sort of thing. But I mean, his feet are just insane for a guy of his size. And again, just the athleticism there. I mean, he's just the way Cristobal talked about him all year. And obviously, he wants to support his guys and talk them up to try to help get them as much pub as he can. But I mean, they legitimately thought he was the best tackle in the country this year. And graded out like not allowing any hits, not allowing pressures, things like that. Certainly not sacks. So a guy just, when the light went on, got the job done. I mean, again, the quickness is what really gives him an edge.
Okay.
As far as Saturday goes, I think, if it was any other bowl game, he might be going the Freeman route and not playing. I think he really wants to try to play at least a little in front of his hometown fans. So I'd be surprised if he doesn't at least start the game and try to go a little bit in order to play in front of his hometown crowd.
All right, and Charles Nelson is also a player to keep an eye on. Not a big kid,
Right.
but he's somebody definitely to watch. He's got kick return ability. So, what kind of a player are we looking at there? We've had a lot of other good receivers come out of Oregon as well in the last few years.
Yeah, he's a smaller guy. Played a lot out of the slot here, and then they'd motion him into the backfield so he could get carries. The thing that sets him apart is he's just a tough guy. I mean, that's a guy that looks for contact. He first made his name actually as a kickoff coverage guy as a freshman. That's what got him on the field as a true freshman. And then, it turned out that he was this great all-purpose guy with the ball in his hands too, but has never lost that kind of kickoff coverage type mentality. Just, does not shy away from contact at all. So, he's got the quickness, he's got the physical ability. I don't know what a good fit is. Either he seems like the kind of guy who probably has to go to the right kind of offense for him. But he's fast. I mean, he's got a national championship ring from running on a relay with the track and field team at Oregon.
That's huge.
So he's got that kind of speed, elite speed. The connection he had with Justin Herbert this year was really something. I mean, he was really kind of Herbert's safety valve, particularly early in the year. Nelson had a high ankle sprain that set him back a little bit middle of the year, but before that, he was really Herbert's safety valve and a guy you looked at. And, the only game Oregon lost this year that Herbert started was at Arizona State, and Nelson missed that game. And I thought it really set the offense back because there just wasn't that kind of intermediate threat. Not over the top, not the running game, somewhere in the intermediate passing game. That connection that he had with Herbert, they really missed because he's a real weapon in that regard.
Yeah. Speaking of Herbert, what are you looking forward to seeing him as far as his development? How good can he be? What's his talent level?
I mean, in terms of his arm, I mean, there are guys who played in the league who've come back to our practices this year and watched him and said that guy has a better arm than every NFL quarterback I played with.
Wow.
And that's guys that have played with elite quarterbacks in the league.
Okay.
So I got to think then it just is a matter of his reading defenses, all his understanding of all that thing, protections, all that. He's still kind of a soft-spoken kid, so he's not. He's kind of like Mariota was. He's got a lot in common with Mariota. Not athletically, he's not the top speed runner that Mariota was. But in terms of a character guy, I mean, we just found out Thursday of this week that Herbert's the first team all-academic, all-American quarterback. He's got a 4.08 GPA in biology. So he's a really, really smart kid. But he is a little shy, a little reticent, doesn't love doing media, doesn't love some of the attention that comes with being an elite quarterback. So, as strange as it sounds to say, I think that's one of the places he has room to grow as he continues in college, is to just sort of come out of his shell a little bit more and take on kind of that alpha male role that I think, probably people expect of a quarterback.
All right. And on defense, I think some of the top prospects I see from our lads are actually in the secondary in Tyree Robinson and Arion Springs. Talk about a couple of those guys or any of the other players on defense that we should be keeping an eye on.
Well, Henry Mondu's a guy, a lineman who, real high motor guy. He's going to play in every game of his career once he takes the field in the Vegas Bowl. So 53 games in 4 years. So, obviously he hasn't stayed healthy that whole time. So just a tough guy who went out there every day. An athletic guy, could have played tight end too. Has been a 4-3 defensive end, now a 3-4 defensive end in this system. So has played a few roles. And so he's a guy. I mean, I'll be rooting for him. I'll be rooting for all the guys. But I'll be rooting for him because I think he's a guy who, with his motor, I kind of hope somebody gives him a shot.
Okay.
Arion Springs is a guy who kind of got thrown into it as a freshman and took his lumps, but really developed as a guy who graded out really well as a corner as a senior this year. He's got no hands. He's probably dropped 15 potential interceptions in the last couple of years. But always in position generally to make plays there. Tyree Robinson is kind of the brains of the secondary. He's not the most physical safety out there. I mean, he's not necessarily a guy who always seeks out contact, but he's played some corners in his career when he's been needed. So he's got the ability to slide down and be a really big, tall corner.
Yeah.
Usually they play him like in a boundary corner position.
Okay.
So, I would wonder if maybe he could get a look there.
Yeah.
If they think athletically he could hold up.
Yeah. I mean, you know how the NFL, they love those 6'4" corner. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, that'll grab some attention.
Was a need-based move here. I think he's more of a natural safety.
Yeah.
But he was okay in that spot, and so I would wonder. I'd wonder how he'd get a look. Jimmy Swain is an inside linebacker who physically, he's gonna kill the bench press, and I think he's a smart guy, a well-spoken guy too. So I think teams will like him when they talk to him. He's definitely a weight room guy, so he can be. He's not as athletic as some other guys, but as a big, stout inside linebacker, I think he's probably going to get some team's attention just when he takes his shirt off at a workout because he looks like the Hulk.
All right, and is Troy Dye I know he's a sophomore, but is he the most talented player on the defense?
Oh yeah, no doubt about it, and he's the brains of Jim Levitt's the guy, the defensive coordinator who obviously knows linebackers. Coach, he was an inside linebackers coach with the 49ers over the last 10 years, and the talent they've had come through there. So he's the guy who knows inside linebackers. One of the first things he did when he took over the defense here is move Troy Dye from being an edge player last year to, I think he calls it the jack position, kind of a weak side linebacker here. And led the team in tackles, second year in a row, both years he's been here. Been the team's defensive MVP both years. Just a guy who's always around the ball. Tough kid, practices every day. Really, really vocal guy. So kind of gets everybody on the defense on the same page. I mean, will want to put on some weight now that he's got a year under his belt and knows what playing inside is like, and he's got a big, long frame, and he can do that. But he's somebody I'm really excited. From Oregon's perspective, we're excited. We've got him at least one more year, that's for sure.
Now, was I hearing good things about the true freshman Thomas Graham, the corner?
Yeah, now kind of like Springs 3 years ago, he was thrown into it this year, and some teams picked on him at times.
Okay.
But he's a really, really competitive kid. And there's another freshman corner, Diamador Lenore, that's the same way. Really competitive. The teams would pick on him a little bit, and they gave up some plays, but always came back and kept fighting. Lenore is a really physical corner when they do like perimeter drills in practice. I mean, he's always defeating blocks and knocking guys back and trying to get in on tackles. And Graham, Graham played his way on the field. I mean, he earned that starting spot. He gave up some plays for sure, but he was good enough to win that job too. And I think another guy who, give him another year or two to develop is going to be a really good player.
All right, and what about the other two running backs? Now, will Tony Brooks James? Do you think he'll come back or what's his role? I
Yeah.
mean, he's a return guy too, right? That's one of his specialties,
Yeah,
correct?
he can return kicks, and he's a physical guy who can cover kicks a little bit too. I'm really interested to see Kanaibinwa is a fifth-year guy who, when he's and whenever Royce has either been banged up or maybe that he goes to the bench because the game is in hand and Kanaibinwa gets a shot, he shines.
Okay.
And I'm really excited to see him get the opportunity Saturday, and I'm really hopeful, that he's a senior guy who can open some eyes and get himself some attention because he's a talented runner.
Okay.
He's got a little more shake. He's a bigger guy, so Oregon fans always expected him to be more of a kind of between the tackles physical guy, but he's got a lot of shake. His balance is really good. His vision's good, and he's really, really elusive. And so I'm hopeful he really takes advantage of this opportunity to open some eyes because I think he's a guy who's got some ability and has really gotten overshadowed by Royce the last 4 years.
All right, now what do you think about this game? Boise's got a couple of key offensive guys banged up. Their running back Madison, and of course their tight end missed the last couple of games, right? Jake Rowe. Do you know at all their status?
I haven't. I'm so locked in on what Oregon's doing, and it's been such a chaotic last couple of weeks with the coaching change and everything that that I don't have a great feel for the Boise team yet. What I know is Boise feasts off teams that don't take them seriously enough.
Yeah.
And I think Mario Cristobal has tried to make his team aware of that.
Uh-huh.
That this is a team. If you just say, hey, this isn't a Power 5 team, you think you're going to walk in and be able to beat them. They've been making their money off that in the last 10 years. So this is a team that certainly deserves all your attention and focus that way. I think the hope from Oregon from a fan point of view is, hey, this is a 7-5 team that when its quarterback has been healthy,
Oh yeah.
has been more of a 9 or 10 win team.
Yes.
And so, Oregon's probably underseeded, so to speak, as a bowl team, and more deserving probably of being in something like an Alamo Bowl or a Holiday Bowl, something like that. And so, this is a game where you think the matchup might favor Oregon in that regard, but then it's a Boise State team that just feasts on having the underdog rolling that chip on its shoulder, and that gets you on alert.
Yeah, what do you think about the Pac-12 this season and some of the top teams that'll be playing in bowls? What do you think about, say, like USC and I mean, they're a dog against Ohio State. Yeah, I actually like USC in that game, to tell you the truth. I'm not really all that. I don't think Ohio State impressed me all that too much, and I know USC sure seems to play a lot better at the end of the season than they did at the last two opening seasons.
Yeah, the thing about USC is, from the Pac-12's perspective, they're always going to have all like the top recruiting classes, so they're always going to have a bunch of dudes, so like they're always going to win the battle of getting off the bus and looking the part. Oregon didn't play them this year, so I didn't get a great look at them. I love the fact that there's some two traditional Pac-12 Big Ten matchups in the New Year's Six. That's awesome, and I'm psyched to watch both those games. Yeah, I didn't think top to bottom this was a great year for the conference. I don't know. I don't know if there's a ton of elite teams nationally anyway.
Sure.
But I didn't watch the Pac-12 and think there was a super team this year. There's a lot of pretty good teams. Between USC and Washington, of course, Washington State and Stanford. But nobody that was like, oh yeah, they're going to bring home a natty for the conference finally this year. So. I'm definitely interested to see how those games play out. I just love seeing Pac-12 Big Ten. That's awesome.
Well, you got to see Josh Allen. You got to see Bryce Love.
I got to see Josh Allen on the worst day of his career. Josh Allen has ever had a worse day throwing the ball than he did that day against Oregon. I think Oregon did a lot of things right, but I don't know if he was banged up in that game or what. But he was like 9 of 24 for 40 yards in that game. He was. We were definitely like, everybody was looking forward to that matchup. Like, hey, this year's, top prospect Allen against next year's top prospect Herbert, and it just did not materialize because Allen was awful that day. He's got a cannon, though, I'll tell you what.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. I think a lot of scouts will fall in love with him during the workout so much that you get the feeling that he's going to be completely overdrafted because of the way he looks and his arm strength. But I mean, I like you saw in that game, his accuracy is just terrible. So he's got a lot of work.
It was, and it definitely led me to believe maybe he was banged up because he was just all over the place. I thought Oregon's secondary got the better of Wyoming's receiving core in a significant manner
Yeah.
that day.
Yeah.
So he could have gotten a little bit more help.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I'll be intrigued to see where he ends up and how his career goes. Because based on that day, it was like, whoa, what's the hype about?
What about Luke Falk? You got to see him this year, and I know he's one of the top 5 senior quarterback prospects for our lads. I mean, I'm not really thrilled. I mean, Falk, to me, I think he holds on to the ball too long when I've seen him play. I don't know. He's got that system he runs in. I'm not really sure about him. Maybe he might be a good backup. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean any disrespect to any one guy individually, but coming out of a Mike Leach offense, I think he's a standard great fit for that system. But I didn't necessarily look him and think, oh, there's an NFL star.
Yeah. And what about Bryce Love? I mean, I really like Bryce Love. I mean, I think
that when the game we saw him, he tore up Oregon for about 6 carries and then had the ankle sprain that ended up dogging him the rest of the game. So we didn't get a great look at him. But I mean, he won the game for them in the first quarter because Herbert wasn't healthy. Herbert wasn't active at that point. So Oregon was in a position where all the Ducks needed to just really play lockdown defense and then try to grind out win. The hope then was to win games like 20-17, something like that. Oregon certainly was not a team that was built to come from behind. And Bryce Love put the Ducks in a huge hole early with a couple of really long runs. He had 2 touchdowns, I think, in the first quarter. I mean, and that game was over. So he did his part before getting hurt in that game. And if the Bryce Love in the first quarter of that game is who he is all the time, that's a really, really good running back.
All right, Rob, I'm going to let you go. I know you've got the game tonight. Before I do let you go, though, GoDucks.com. So is it more than just football? Do you cover basketball as well?
Yeah, I cover football and men's basketball kind of as beats, as I used to say back in my newspaper days, but kind of everything else as it comes up. And Oregon's a school that, track and field, women's basketball, now softball is elite.
Okay.
Our volleyball team is an NCAA tournament team, so that all keeps me busy. It's really fun, but it's busy at the same time. So yeah, I get spread around a bit, but I'm really looking forward to watching this Vegas Bowl on Saturday. That's for sure.
Did you go to the national championship game last year?
I went when the Ducks were in it a couple of years. Oh, are you talking about the men's basketball?
Yeah, the basketball. Yeah. Did you get a chance?
Oh yeah, we were at the Final Four. Yeah, I mean, we were there still for the Natty.
I mean, the Final Four, correct? Yes, the Final Four.
Yeah. That was cool. I mean, that's the only thing I've ever been to that was like a college event that even came close to the college football playoff final. A Final Four. That was a spectacle. That was really something. And for that Oregon team to make that run and now to see those guys. Jordan Bell and Dylan Brooks, Tyler Dorsey, trying to break through too as NBA guys is really fun because that was a fun group of guys.
All right, Rob. Well, we look forward to talking to you again. Maybe we'll get a chance to do it sometime before the draft. Enjoy the game, not only tonight, of course, but on Saturday. And best of luck. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, you got it. Thanks, Rob. That's Rob Mosley. And again, he's the editor for GoDucks.com. So for you Oregon fans out there, I used to really, I remember, this was the Bellotti days, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the Bellotti days. That's when I first, when I first started recognizing Oregon sports, of course, being an East Coast guy. And then all of a sudden, they started to actually, under Kelly was when they really became nationally prominent. Like, hey, can this team win a national championship? And of course, it really looked like. Now, I didn't honestly think that they were going to win the championship. I actually picked Ohio State to win it that year. I've said that many times, of course, on this network the last few years. When Ohio State won back in 2014. And part of it though was for me when I went into the playoffs thinking about Ohio State winning it as the 4th pick out of 4 was I liked the matchup of if Urban Meyer gets to the championship game, he had an edge, he had a coaching edge, and I knew that. And I felt good about if Ohio State can get past the first game against Alabama. Then I felt pretty good about them going up against Oregon at that point in time, and they were still kind of looked at as the favorite, of course, and Mariota and all that. But since then, boy, things have definitely changed up there. They did not have a good year last year, 4-8, and changed the coach. So and that's kind of why I felt the way that I did in the national championship game. So they changed the coach a couple of years after that, which was last year. Willie Taggart comes in. Unfortunately, he's gone. But Mario Cristobal, as I mentioned, I was down in Florida, South Florida, for 20 years while I was on the air covering sports, and very surprised when he was let go at FIU. He did a very good job there. You don't win at FIU, and he won. I mean, and they were competitive. And it's one of those things that you just if you don't really if you didn't really understand it, or if you let's just say it's just something that you just weren't aware of, you to compare, if you've ever seen a coach lift a program in a sport that is a completely irrelevant program, and all of a sudden you go, oh, that's an interesting team to keep an eye on, and oh, who's that coach? And then all of a sudden, like the next year, they get rid of that coach, and you're like, well, I never heard of that team before that coach took over that team. Well, why would they let that coach go? It was like one of those things. And that's the same thing that it was like, what are they doing? So, but Mario Cristobal is a very respected assistant coach for many years, and we knew he was going to get another chance. Matter of fact, I thought he was, I knew he was in the short run to be the head coach at Rutgers, me being a New Jersey guy. And I remember at the time that I was all for that. I was like, yeah, I wasn't sure exactly which direction Rutgers was going to go, but I was like, oh, I think he wasn't like my number one choice, but I think he was like in the top two. And I was like, sure, if they want to go ahead and if they can hire him, I'm okay with that. That's a hire that I'd be okay with. I mean, he's a good recruiter. I like his style, and I think because that toughness that Rob talked about is definitely something that Oregon is going to need to go back to basics. And that's something that you have to do because, as Rob said, there's a lot of teams out there in college football, with the high flying offenses and the spreads and putting 40 points on the board and all that kind of stuff. But you got to play defense, and that's it. You're not going to win a national championship today if you can't play defense. Nobody's saying that you got to shut them down. You don't have to be like Alabama's defense from 4 or 5 years ago, but you just have to be able to stop teams from now and then in order for your offense to be able to outscore the opposition. And we'll see. I think Cristobal is going to do a good job there. I really do. I expect him to be there for a while, and I look forward to getting the opportunity to talk to Rob many more times as Oregon football, hopefully for Oregon fans, returns back to where they were just a few years ago. So again, thanks for tuning into the show here. We'll be back again tomorrow. We've got 2 shows tomorrow. We have Chris Dufresne from the Media Guys. We're going to go over all the bowls, a lot of bowls, tomorrow at 1 o'clock. And then Cyrus Smith, CUSA writer for SBNation.com, and Adam Luckett, Sunbelt writer for SBNation.com, is going to join me. That's going to be on Friday, 1 o'clock with Chris Dufresne, 3 o'clock Cyrus Smith, 3:30 Adam Luckett, right here on the Ourlads Football Radio Network. We'll see you again next time, and thanks again for tuning in.